This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole on September 9th, 2020. Present are Council members Williamson, Limpert, Kelly, Heeman, Glassburn, our Clerk of Council, and our guests this evening. On tonight's agenda is to see a demonstration of a program that Council can consider purchasing as we look towards increasing participation in our meetings and potentially live streaming. I would encourage Council to ask any questions that they might have about specific features, like how the different features would work during the demonstration. In fact, usually, we run these meetings pretty formally, but I would say, especially during the demonstration part, if you feel like there is a question that you want to ask Mr. Parker or our clerk, then please go ahead and just ask that question, unmute yourself and ask, especially because we'll be sharing a screen. It'll be difficult for me to see if one of you does have a question. So I would prefer just to run that portion of the meeting a little more informally. Just go ahead and ask whatever you'd like, follow-up questions, what have you. If there are questions that come up about technical issues that can't be answered by our presenter, we will definitely forward it to the tech team and we will get you an answer within the next few days. No decisions regarding purchasing this or similar products or live streaming will be made tonight. We will call another meeting to discuss that in the near future and to propose final decisions and that type of thing. But I just wanted to, again, just let everyone know that this is definitely just a demonstration tonight of a product that's out there that we might consider. And from that, I will turn it over to our clerk.
Thank you, Council President Jones. Tonight, Travis Parker is going, as Council President Jones said, is going to give a brief demonstration. He's the planning director for Lakewood, Colorado, and he worked with this program, I think, pretty much since the inception. One of the reasons I brought this program forward is just I like how they've really focused on increasing audience participation or community participation in their features that they've put in there. So I thought this would be a good demonstration for you to see how these programs work. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Parker so he can introduce himself and start the demonstration.
Thanks, Chuck, and good to see you all. So by way of introduction, my name is Travis Parker. I'm actually not an employee of the company I'm demonstrating tonight. I'm the planning director in Lakewood, Colorado. And the reason that I'm here tonight is that we actually first developed this program. In 2016, we were on a retreat with our council and our planning commission and talking about public engagement and getting more people involved. We had a lot of problems like low participation at our council meetings and planning commission meetings. The people that did come fit into a pretty small demographic that wasn't representative of our broader population. When people did get engaged, it was generally people that were really focused, really in favor or really opposed to issues. So we had a lot of trouble getting balanced input on issues. And so we started talking about ways to increase participation in our meetings, talked about doing it online, and we started by looking at what was out there. And really the only thing out there at the time, and really still to this day, were town hall type software. So software that was really good at the city staff put a bunch of effort into it to put together a lot of materials and get a lot of great input on a big project. But there was nothing that really was designed to do the week-to-week public hearings and to allow staff to easily put up materials and for the public to easily participate week after week in our planning commission or our city council public hearings. So we in Lakewood set out to create it since it didn't exist, and we were really excited about doing something that people could access from their home or from their computer. And we really wanted to do two things. The first thing everybody's done these days is go remote, right? With COVID, everybody is now doing remote hearings and allowing people to call in remotely. But the second thing that we wanted to tackle, and what's really unique about what we created, and I'll show you tonight, is also taking away the time constraints of public hearings. So our city council meetings were 7 o'clock on Monday night. And so the only time that the public could come in and express their opinions to the council was at 7 p.m. on a Monday night. And that obviously isn't the best time for a lot of people to give up hours of their day to participate. So what I'm going to show you tonight not only changes, not only goes remote, like Zoom or GoToMeeting or everything else, but it really, the thing that we tried to solve was, again, making public hearing access a longer period of time. So access to the public hearing over days rather than just over the course of an evening. So let me start by sharing my screen here. And you should be able to see now a site called Riverside Speaks. And our site was originally called Lakewood Speaks, still is actually called Lakewood Speaks, that we use here in Colorado. This is a demo site that People Speak lets us and others use to show people, what we do. I've done a number of conferences on the product, on the platform that we developed with them. And basically the way it works is this. I'll run through it sort of as a citizen uses the program before I show you sort of how you all as council members would use it. And as was said, please feel free to stop me at any time if you have questions or comments or want to look more deeply at something. But now in Lakewood, when we send out a notice, when we post a public hearing notice at City Hall or send a mailing or post a property, it says, there'll be a hearing at thus and such date, or you can go to lakewoodspeaks.org. And it sends them to a site that looks a lot like this. And these sites can be customized with your logo and your colors, but they all work fairly similarly in that the citizens get sent to a site that shows, upcoming meetings in your community. So it'll show that there's a planning commission meeting coming up next week. It shows the last couple of meetings that took place, and then you can click here to look at meetings further back in time. For the past meetings, you'll see that it shows the actions that were taken. So things that were approved or denied or continued to the next meeting. For the upcoming meetings, you can see that they're open for comment. And I'll get into how that works. But the idea here on this home screen is these are the most recent and most upcoming agendas for your for the bodies that use this, whether it's just your council, whether it's all the boards and commissions in the city, it's really up to you. One more thing on this screen, well, a couple more things on this screen actually. Members of the public can sort by just the body that they want to look at, if you just want to look at planning commission meetings or just council meetings. And also, nobody ever has to click on this, but we still certainly in Lakewood have a council member or two who likes to print stuff out or likes to have everything available in paper form. Everything's designed to be on the site and usable on the site, but everything is also converted, and you'll see later, into one big PDF for each meeting. So each meeting has a bookmark PDF with all the agenda items on that meeting that you can look at as a PDF or you can print out for your own use. So for people that still like to have paper, this site accommodates that as well. Now, as a member of the public, when I get my notice to say, hey, there's a planning commission coming up, there's a case near you, I go to the site and I see, well, here's the case I'm interested in. I click on it, it takes me to a page that looks like this. On the left-hand side is basically all of the agenda for that meeting. So at the top are sort of, non-voting, things that you'll have at your council meeting, like a proclamation or a paper agenda. All this stuff opens on screen, so people can look at any of these documents here without getting kicked to another tab or another place. And then below the line are actually the items that this planning commission will be taking action on. So these, as a council, these are the items that you're going to be voting on and the items that are open for public comment. And one thing that you can see right here is they each have a number on them. These are the number of public comments that you've already received for each of these items. So as a member of the public, I come on here, I see that the item I'm interested in has already had 4 comments. This one down here has 7. I didn't know what it was, but now I may want to go check it out and see what people are interested in. On the right-hand side of the screen is the actual, this is basically the public hearing information for this item. So we're talking about a major waiver item here. And all of this information is, is optional. If it exists, staff can put it in. If it doesn't, the site builds around it. But starting at the top, you can have a title for the case. You can have a case number, a short description of what's being discussed and what's being decided on. Over here, if you have a property with a property address with a specific address, you have some mapping options. So you can staff can put in an aerial of the site, or staff can. The other button takes you to our local GIS system. So people can maneuver around the property, can turn on and off layers like the zoning and stuff. So if you have any of those options in your city, those are located here. And then below that is the actual public hearing information. So on Lakewood Speaks and similar PeopleSpeak sites, presentations are pre-recorded. So staff presentations, applicant presentations are done a couple days or a week beforehand. Our city council posts things 10 days before. So when the notices go out, there already are presentations and materials up on the site. So for our staff, that's just a matter of dubbing audio over the PowerPoint that they were going to make anyway. A lot of applicants go further and make professional videos. A lot of them just do the PowerPoints as well. But the public and the council, instead of just having an evening to review the information and having to make a decision that night, now starts to have a longer period, including presentations of information in order to digest that information and have thoughtful comments and questions. Case materials are here. So staff report a site plan, everything opens in screen. So these are the materials associated with the case. Your staff has the opportunity, if you like, and if they like, to put the criteria that you'll use to make the decision. So in Lakewood, we have different criteria for a rezoning than a variance, say. And so we'll put the criteria here so the council sees it and so the public sees it. And ideally, they can tailor their comments around the criteria that you'll be using to make your decision. And then at the bottom, you have the actual interactive portion of the site. This is where citizens can ask questions and leave comments. I'll start with Ask City Staff. So if a member of the public puts their name and email in here and their question, this is basically replicating them sending an email to City Hall saying, hey, who do I talk to about this case? This isn't public comment about this case. This is, hey, I'd like some more information. And filling out this form connects them with the person in the city who's responsible for this case. When the case is billed, it has a staff person responsible for it. This initiates an email back and forth with that person. If you and your staff choose for cases with applicants, you can put in an applicant email and allow the citizens to ask questions directly of the applicants. None of these questions to staff or applicant become part of the public record. These aren't comments to the city council. These again are replicating and getting all in the same website the ability to ask questions offline. This button initiates a back and forth with the citizen and the applicant, and all emails are anonymized, sort of like using Craigslist, so that citizens and applicants don't actually see each other's real email. And the best thing about this particular function is these emails are BCC'd to staff. So staff has an idea of what questions are being asked and how responsive applicants are being and that sort of thing. And then finally, we get to the comment section. So as a member of the public, this is my time at the microphone, right? This is my ability to comment to you, the council, on my own time, from my own home or wherever I am. You can set how much commenting you allow. In Lakewood, we've equated 1,000 words to about equal to 3 minutes that we allow people to stand at the microphone. The system is meant to be low barrier to entry, so we don't require any creating a user account or a password or any of that. We just ask for the same information that we ask for in person when people show up at a meeting, which is a name and an address. On here, we also ask for an email address because the system will send you a receipt that your comment's been received. When a comment is submitted, it goes to staff for moderation. based on whatever your comment policy is. So no profanity, no personal attacks, that sort of thing. In 4 years of using it in Lakewood, we have never had to reject a comment for cause, but if we did, it'd give us a pull-down menu of why we're rejecting the comment. When we choose one of those, the system automatically sends an email to the submitter saying, we're sorry, your comment's been rejected for this reason, but please resubmit. And so it gives them a chance to do it again, so no one's sort of disenfranchised and unable to have their voice heard on the site. Once their comment is in and moderated, it goes up on the site and it becomes part of the public record. So it's available for you to view, for anyone in the public. All of this is designed to comply with open meeting laws so that everybody's working with the same information. So the public gets to see the comment, the time and date it was submitted, the name, but not the address of the commenter. And then one thing that we designed in this site is, in order to try and replicate the experience of being in person, when you're in person, they have a captive audience. You as a council have to sit there and listen to someone talking into the microphone. It's hard to replicate that same experience online. The way that we've done that is we track when the council members or planning commissioners log on and read their comments. And then this number updates in real time so that the public can see, if I come back the day after my comment submitted, oh, now 3 of 7 council members have read this comment. And generally and ideally by meeting night, this will say 7 of 7 or 9 of 9 or however many have read the comment. So it gives me that feedback that my comment's been received and seen by the council members. And then finally, here on the public side, the public has a chance to sign up for email updates. So if I'm interested in this issue, I've commented, I've had my questions answered, now I can sign up for updates. So if I'm not available to watch the night of, or for whatever reason, I want to get an update on what the decision was, I sign up here and the system automatically sends me an email when the case is approved or denied or tabled to a certain date, so that I get that information sent to me. I will continue. I'm happy to stop here and take questions on the public side. I do have some more stuff I wanted to show you, sort of how you would use it as a city council. So I'll pause for just a second if there are any comments here or questions here, and then I'll carry on.
Mr. Parker, my name's Chris Glassburn. I guess the question I have is, this doesn't look that complicated for staff to run, but our council staff is a very able army of one. So I guess how much of this is done by one single person? How much of this is administered by a team of people, or I guess we have a couple of other staff people that deal with commissions here or there, but you could address that.
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the main requirements of this system as we built it out was no new staff time. In fact, we built it to reduce our staff time. Almost everything in here is automated. It takes about, I won't run through it for you, but I've run through it for Chuck. It takes about 10 minutes to build this entire meeting and all this information. Once you have the documents, there's very little time. Our city clerk in Lakewood used to spend the entirety of every Friday building a packet and an agenda and sending it out. Now she spends under an hour every Friday doing the same work. So this is, believe it or not, this is actually a time saver for staff. So let me go through and show you sort of your experience as a council member using this. And this will be the entirety of your training. Obviously, if you need more training, but the idea is it's the same information, the same experience for you as council members. The only difference, the only training for council is you have to come down here in the bottom and log in, because if you're remembering, the site is tracking when you're reading your comments and providing that information to the public. So unlike the public, you're logging into the site. So as a decision maker, when you log in, it takes you to a page like this. It shows you, this is the same meeting we were looking at, but it shows you the items that you're going to be voting on. It shows you how many total comments there are for each item, and how many now that you're logged in, it can show you how many you personally haven't read yet. So it'll come in here, and so I know that I, as a council member, still need to go and look at these last two cases. I've already been in here and read the first one. To show you for consistency, let's go to that first case and see that you are viewing the same information that the public is. There's a couple minor differences. First, the public sees one number here. That's the total number of comments for each case. When I'm logged in as a council member, I see in gray the total number of comments for each case, and I see in orange the number that I personally haven't read. So again, it's a reminder that I need to go down here and finish reading my comments. Otherwise, all the information is the same. I have the same information, access to maps, general information, same presentations, same documents, same review criteria. A couple more differences down here. You'll notice there is no Ask Applicant button. Obviously, to avoid ex parte communication, you all can't be, for a lot of types of cases, you can't be directly communicating with applicants outside of the meeting itself. So that button doesn't appear for you. You do have an Ask City Staff button. In Lakewood, we encourage our council members to ask staff questions early so that we can prepare good answers to those questions. However, when the public uses this button, it initiates a one-on-one email back and forth with the staff person. Again, in order to comply with open meeting laws and avoid ex parte communication, your use of this button is a little different. If you use Ask City Staff, you type your question in here, and instead of initiating a one-on-one email, it sends that question to staff, who then craft a response that is posted for all of council to see, so that you're all working from the same information. And that's called a staff response. So in Lakewood, a common question we get is, hey, where can I find the regulations on thus and such? And so we'll post a response. The regulations for solar installations can be found here. And we can hyperlink this if we want. And the idea here is that gets posted for the entirety of council to see, rather than just a single council member. And then finally, comments. Obviously, these are comments to council, so you're not adding comments here, but you have the same opportunity to see the comments, to see how many of your body has already read it, the time and date that come in. You see the name, and if you choose, you can also turn on the ability to see the address. The public doesn't get to see the address, but our council is really interested in, is this a neighbor of the project, or somebody across town, or somebody out of town for that matter. And so you have that ability to also see the address of the commenters. That's the extent of the differences for your ability to use this site. A couple other things that I'll show you here as we go through. So this is our site. This is a meeting a month or two ago. During the meeting, your GoToMeeting, if you hold your meetings by GoToMeeting or Zoom or whatever, it's streamed onto the site. And so the public is coming back to the same site to watch the meeting. During the meeting, they still have access to the presentations, although they may be going on live as well. They still have access to the information, so they can literally be reading the documents while you are discussing things. And then comments are down here. Pre-meeting comments are down here, and then during the meeting, Chuck has the ability to turn on and off live commenting for each item as you go through. So if you choose, you can use this site for live commenting during the meeting as well. And that means people can type their comment in here to you while you're talking about this case, and you'll have a screen like this up, and those comments will appear while you're discussing. People who choose to call in, if you use this system, they call in and leave a voicemail. The voicemail is transcribed into text and appears here with the others. It'll also have an audio file if you want to listen to it. So comments that come in via call or typing all appear here during your meeting if you choose to turn on live commenting. Now, once you're back to live hearings, you probably just let people come to the meeting and speak into the mic and not need it, although you could still use it for people to comment at home during the meeting. And that's all an option if you choose to use it. I think that's most of what I have to show you.
Mr. Parker, this is Mary Ellen Heeman. I'm a councilwoman Ward 4. I have just a few quick questions before we go on, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So how many administrators are there to this site? So for example, we would have our clerk of council, Chuck, obviously, But then if other boards and commissions chose to use the site, there are multiple administrators or only one. How many people get permissions?
As many or as few as you assign. So you'll have one person, Chuck, who will probably be the account owner, who will have overall control of the site. And then if he wants to allow a planning director to create a planning commission body and create cases for that, he can do that. In Lakewood, we have a number. So our clerk of council runs everything for the council. She makes all the meetings and handles everything, and she's really the only administrator for that. But in my department, for the planning commission, I allow all of my planners and our admin access to the site, and they all build their own cases. So instead of one person building the entire agenda for that, each of them builds their own case. So there's any number of ways you can do it with 1 or 100 people. You can spread it out.
And when agendas are uploaded, if you upload, for example, a Word document, does it convert automatically to PDF bookmarked, or do you have to create that PDF bookmarked before upload?
No, it converts everything from Word to PDF, or from whatever format you put it in into PDF. So then the individual documents in here are PDFs, and then and downloading all entire meeting files are every document in every case in a bookmarked PDF. And
that includes a PowerPoint upload as well.
Good question. This does not include a PowerPoint upload. This just includes the files themselves, the general files and the files from the meetings. But you can certainly separately download any of the, or come back on the site and view them. They remain up on the site.
Well, meaning if a presentation is in PowerPoint and you upload it, it'll convert that PowerPoint to a PDF, just like it would a Word document at upload.
No. So this is just files associated. The presentations are here, so you'll watch them on here. You can and when they're on this site, they're pulled in from YouTube, so you can access them that way too. But they're not converted to PDF automatically.
Okay. And then I had another question about how long do you think it actually takes to really get residents in tune with how to use this, all the council people in tune, and sometimes we do have last minute things. How do you manage those last minute things and then relative to residents? And I'll conclude with one other question. Do we get an email or a notice pushed out to us every time there is new activity? Thank you.
Question. All right, let me start with that one, because that's a function I neglected to say. So when there are rules that Chuck will be able to put in for each body about when notices go out. So generally, the system will send out a notice to you as council members when commenting closes. So you'll have commenting available online until, so our council has their meeting at 7 p.m. on Monday. They have commenting available for 10 days, and it closes at noon on Monday, so that they have the afternoon to read their comments. So they get an email at noon that reminds them that commenting is closed, and then they get another email at a time that we set at 4 p.m. just those that still have unread comments. So if you still have unread comments at 4 p.m., you get another email to say, hey, you still have unread comments for tonight's meeting. So Chuck or someone gets to set those rules for when those emails go out. But yes, the system is designed to send reminders. Your first question was, does it take some time? Yeah, I mean, obviously this is new. You'll have to, you might want to do some publication that, hey, this is a new system, this is how we're doing. Honestly, the main way that people get to the site is the traditional notices. When there's a rezoning in the neighborhood and they get that letter, or when they see a posting on a property, all of your notices, you'll want to put it in, big bold letters, head to North Olmsted Speaks or whatever your URL is for information and to participate in the public hearing. And that's how most of we did a lot of things. We gave little flyers to our council members to take to their ward meetings, and every meeting that we went to for a year, we handed stuff out. And that raised awareness, but really it's when people had a case that they were interested in via some notification that they would have gotten anyway. That's how most people get to the site. And then there was a middle question that I've forgotten.
Actually, there was not a middle question. It was just a reiteration of the conversion of any format to a PDF. Other like board docs and different other programs that I've used, some of them actually would treat a Word document, you just snag it right off of your shared drive or wherever it's at, wherever its home was. And then when you uploaded it, it would convert it automatically for you to the bookmarked PDF, whether it be PowerPoint, Word, you know, and so you didn't have to constantly make PDFs. Not that that's a burden to do that, but it was so much nicer because multiple people were creating their work in their natural format, you know, that they used. So it was a little nicer, but certainly this is not burdensome at all. Thank you.
No problem. And I won't go through it for you all tonight. I've shown Chuck. I mean, the system has a lot of back-end stuff to help staff too. It has a you know, agenda building. It has packet building. It has minute taking. So there's a lot of functionality in the back that helps it replace a lot of agenda management software, in addition to being the public engagement software that it is. One other thing I can, oh yeah, go ahead.
Could you explain, because I've used agenda building software, could you explain what that essentially, how, you know, how your package is created off of your agenda through this software?
Sure, it might be easier for me to go back, but basically one of the most recent things that they've built out is some document progression. So so if you use like a Granicus or something that allows you to send documents out and get approvals or get changes and that sort of thing, there's some of that availability, and unfortunately I'm not the technical person, and that this wasn't part of our original design, but they've added that in. It has the packet building that I saw, so when you have all your finished documents in whatever form they are, it's just a matter of drag and dropping them into their agenda place and moving. There's ability to move stuff around and rename stuff to create your packet for the meeting and your agenda for the meeting. They, like I mentioned, they added vote tracking and minute keeping in the back end so that Chuck can keep minutes in this system, and it automatically produces minutes from his notes. So there's a lot of functionality like that that's been added over the last couple of years that I'm really not an expert on, but I know is in there and is used by our clerk.
Travis, real quick, would you mind can you maybe just show them the back end? We don't have to like go through creating a whole thing. Just kind of show them like how that would, without creating a whole document, just what it looks like.
Sure, absolutely. All right, so I'll log in and out as a council member, and let's log back in as a staff person. And on the back end, I come to something like this. And this is a bunch of things I can show you back here. This is where your staff can create the different bodies. So they can create a council and a planning commission. And this is where you set the rules for when comments or when email reminders go out and who moderates comments and whether you're showing that count of who's read their comments. This is where staff will create those staff accounts. So each city council member will have a staff account or have a decision maker account. Staff will have staff accounts. You know, Chuck will be probably the account owner who manages the site, etc. He has the ability to change text on the basic pages. So you've got a comment policy page and a contact page and a how it works page, and you can manipulate all that text. And then here's where the meetings get built. So for that meeting that we just saw, you know, there's just a bunch of forms that you fill in. It's a regular meeting. Here, it was a planning commission meeting. You can add a bunch of text that you don't, a lot of this stuff you don't ever need. But during the meeting, you put the live stream here so that the public can watch it. This is where I drag and drop documents. So if I wanted to add documents, you know, we've got a budget memo, you put it in here and it converts it from whatever form it is to PDF and adds it to the list, and then I can move it around. And then the various issues, you know, this is where I build out the one that we saw, the major waiver and the special use permit. This is where you build out the voting issues. And this is where you process that packet. So if you hit this button, it takes all of the documents that I've put in all the cases and in all the general, and creates that bookmark PDF. Additionally, then during the meeting, it builds out a template for your minutes, and Chuck can come in here and take notes on each case, right? He can, you know, you can take notes on the waiver case. If you do it during the meeting, that's great. While you're watching the meeting, after the meeting, the video appears here, so he can click and watch the actual hearing while he's taking notes on it after the fact. You can add amendments. You can track the voting on each item, and then when all that's done, you hit process, and it creates a draft set of minutes based on the notes that you took. So it's designed to be super streamlined for staff. That was our overriding goal. Well, that was the second goal. The first goal was public participation, and that's the last thing I'll show you here is we obviously, since we've been running this since late 2016, we've kept great analytics in Lakewood to see, you know, is this doing what it set out to do, and are we reaching more people and getting more input? This is so we've done annual reports on everybody that's come in person and line, taken a lot of data. This is pre-COVID, so this is our numbers for 2019 in Lakewood. In 2019, nearly 90% of the people that participated in a city council meeting by watching a presentation or leaving a comment did it online. So for the entire year, we had something like 880 people physically walk through the door, and we had about 8,000 people at some point participate online. 2/3 of our overall comments came online. We kept track of when people commented, because keep in mind, they have 10 days, 24 hours a day. Our meetings are at 7 p.m. and that's the least popular time for people to comment when they actually have a choice. When they have a choice, they participate during the day usually, with another surge sort of around 9 or 10 at night. And then this is our council's favorite stat right here. In person, 87% of the people that walked through our door were 55 and older. And that didn't come close to matching our actual city demographics. This is our online participation that looks almost the same as the pie chart of our actual city demographics in terms of age. So we're getting more participation between 25 and 45, or 25 and 55. In fact, the 25 to 34-year-olds that participated in Lakewood were 100 times as many online as in person. Sorry, sometimes I go on. Other questions?
Mr. Parker, it's Chris Glassburn again. I know this won't surprise you that on a normal night, if we get a dozen folks in person, you know, it's a banner night.
Right.
But if I craft a solid social media post, we have a city of 30,000 people, I get 5,000 to 7,000 interactions. So I'm not sure I want 7,000 comments on any given piece of legislation. So how does this work with Facebook, Twitter, anything else, practically and technically?
It's not connected directly. It's not tied to any social media. So it's not. People can't use Facebook to comment on the site. People have to actually come to the site and comment if they're going to use it. And so honestly, I've never heard. It's like you will get 8 to 10 times as many comments as you do now. You won't get 100 or 1,000 times as many comments as you do now. There are still the majority of people who just aren't interested, right, in what's going on. But you will get the people that are interested but don't have the time to participate in the traditional way, or don't have the inclination to spend 3 hours of their weekday evening doing so. So you will get a lot more comments. However, it honestly won't take you any more time, because if you get 10 times as many people coming to a microphone, you're there all night. But if you get 10 times as many people writing their comments out here and you've got a week to read them at your leisure, you're not spending, as a council member, you're not even spending any more time to get 10 times as much input.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chuck, was there any other features that when you were reviewing this product that you would like Mr. Parker to touch on for council tonight?
The only other thing I'd say is I assume everyone knows what the bookmark PDFs are, but would you just show council how, like, where they would log in to get, and so they can see the PDFs and how they would be able to follow along during the meetings?
Oh, well, so during the meeting, honestly, unless you're a person that needs to print stuff out, you're never using this. I mean, if you do, it looks like this, and you can go to the case where the information is. But as a member of once you're logged in, you're following along here, because you can open those documents directly in the site, right? You can open all that stuff in the site without going to the bookmark PDF. And you're here because if you use live commenting, those are popping up here, and you're seeing that on the same page that you're reading your documents. So as a member, if you're meeting remotely and you're at your computer screen at home, you just have this screen up during the meeting, and you have access to documents, you have access to comments, old and new, that are coming in during the meeting. This is really just for people that want to do it old school.
I mean, it's like when I send out when the agenda is created and sent out, they're going to log into this. Instead of looking at an agenda packet like that, they will log into this site then, and they'll follow along through the website.
Exactly.
Even when they're reading.
Exactly. This is the site that you come to for all your information. You're going to the same place the public is and reading the same materials the public is right here on the page.
The only other thing that I'd kind of point out is that when we've talked, and I talked a little bit today with some of the tech people there, but when you guys release, when People Speak releases a new option, the feature's turned on. It's not a pick or choose. I mean, it's not turned. We can choose to use it or not. We get access to everything. When we buy the product, we're buying everything.
Yep, you get access to everything, and it's all optional. You're right. I mean, there's 100 features on here you'll probably never use, or you may never use. That's an exaggeration, obviously, but yes, as it updates, you're just paying a monthly subscription for whatever the most current version of this is, and you can use as much or as little as you like.
Mr. President, I think that's kind of all I want to point out.
Mr. Parker, how have conflicts either between council members or branches or contested issues, how does that play out in this? So, like, yeah, I'll let you just answer.
Well, I'm not sure I follow the question. So you all are going to end up debating whatever issue it is, and having your normal debate and discussion and vote. This is really just the container for all the information that you're reviewing, including the comments coming from the public. So the public goes on here, they review their information, they add to it by putting their comments on here. This is all the input for you all to debate and decide. And that all still happens in the traditional way, whether it's in person or on a Zoom call. You still have to discuss this stuff and disagree or agree. This is just the container for all the information.
So, for example, if Chuck doesn't have a document ready 10 days in advance, right? Does it just show nothing's there? If if there's a disagreement between members of your council on how the basic facts of a situation, and you have one document, does that, I'm not trying to be contrarian, but I'm trying to figure out how conflicts play out.
Oh, and I guess that took me back to the question that I think I forgot earlier about if stuff is added later. You can always add stuff to this as you go. I guess one thing that you're gonna want to try and do is avoid that as much as possible. We in Lakewood, that 10-day is a hard deadline. If we don't have materials, we don't schedule the case. So we have all of our materials in by that point. If you want to make it 2 days in North Olmsted or 6 days, I mean, you can do it however you see fit. But it is much better if when the site goes live with a case, everything's in there and you're not adding it over time. The idea being, once the site's live and the materials are up there, people are using that to make decisions on the case and provide their comment. And if you're adding information after that, you're changing the facts on which their comment was based, right? So whether you set it at 24 hours or 10 days, I think you want to avoid that as much as possible. Now, there will come times where you have a new piece of information and that gets added up there, and I think you just call attention to that as best you can. I don't know how to answer your question about disagreements on the facts. I'll have to turn, I mean, you all will have the information that Chuck provides and have to interpret it as best you can.
I guess you somewhat answer the question in terms of it's just everybody presents whatever they're going to present 10 days out. So if, I don't know, there's a disagreement on the need to pave a road or something, if one person wants to put their information up, another wants to put their information up, the way you guys handle it is it's all up 10 days out. And if it's not a back and forth reactionary thing or a iterative.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering about the
in a committee hearing, you have discussion, you have dialogue, you go back and forth. Maybe you have another hearing. With this, it kind of puts you of having to be ready from the get-go.
Well, no, I mean, so that's fair. So what you can put in here is just the basic background information, and the dialogue and debate from the public, from anybody who's not on the council, can appear here. People can, people submitting comments here can put attachments in, and so people that are on either side of whether the road should be paved can put their thoughts and opinions and debate, including documentation, here in the comments, and then you can further discuss it at that committee meeting. And then eventually, I assume it will go to a hearing at which a decision will be made, and then all of that becomes input for that later council meeting. Does that sort of get to your question?
I think so. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Sorry.
Any? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. What is the typical retention policy on this type of format?
So unless you tell it otherwise, hitting view archives will bring up every meeting that you've ever had on the site. So go back as far. Now you can, Chuck can, if you have a 1 year or 2 year retention policy, Chuck can go back, can start archiving them after a year or 2 years, but the site itself maintains everything. So unless you take it down, it'll maintain everything for as long as it's on there.
And it's user friendly. So if perhaps, we recall, so we're talking about projects, maybe there was one done similar 2 years ago, and we can't really remember which location. Is it possible to just put in the keywords and it'll pull up any kind of issue that dealt with something like that?
Great question. I think there is a search. I'll have to go to Lakewood Speaks. I think there is a search for like keywords in the title.
Yes.
Yes, I think there is. Boy, if there is, I haven't used it in years, but I think there is. I'll have to confirm that with Chuck.
Okay, I appreciate it. My other question is this. There are oftentimes council members are sent emails on an individual basis from a resident who may be looking for guidance. And, you know, I know sometimes they might be doing a little fishing to see if they get different answers from different representatives. Is there a way to control that through this? If, you know, perhaps council members can share, you know, matters that come to them?
Well, so the best thing that you can do, and this is part of the training, and that, you know, in that first few months as you're getting your community used to this, the best thing that you all can do as council members is respond to that email with, hey, head to North Olmsted Speaks and, you know, read the materials there and put your comment in there for council. If you keep directing people back to the site, they'll start using it. And it has the ask questions buttons, so they'll start using it to ask questions. They'll start using it to send their comment to all of you instead of just one of you, unless, like you say, they're shopping for answers. But if you're consistent as a body about keeping people back there, they'll start using it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Parker, this is Mary Ellen Heeman again. I have a question about the storage of the information. So we store, you know, we pay a storage fee for the content with the site provider, or this is stored on our own servers? How is the information kept and at what cost?
It's all stored, and that's all included. So everything here is cloud-based and cloud hosted. So you're not responsible to host anything, and there's no separate storage fees, no separate fees, period.
Is there any chance that we could get a link to see a meeting in action where this might be used?
Sure. We're going to have a committee meeting next Wednesday. You guys are welcome to watch. I could send Chuck a link to that.
Thank you.
Of course.
Go ahead. If you have more questions, please feel free. Mr. Parker, thank you so much for your time this evening and walking us through this particular site. There are a few council members who were not able to join us. Chuck is recording this meeting, and so they will have the opportunity to watch it. But I just wanted to give you that heads up in the event that they might have additional questions. It would obviously go through Chuck to you. But I wanted to let you know that we do appreciate your time and all of your effort tonight in joining us at our meeting.
I'm happy to do it. Nice to meet you all, and yeah, happy to take any additional questions that you've got.
All right, great. Well, we will absolutely send those to you if we do.
Wonderful.
All right.
Good luck.
So much. Thank you. So lots to think about. Yep, we appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too. You too. All right, council members. If there are no additional questions right now that you wanted to give to Chuck, we will conclude our meeting at 7:55 p.m. Thank you.